Oh my gosh. Sorry, the cord got caught. Today we're going to do lesson 5.2. And lesson 5.2 is going to be on composition of functions. So what is a composition function? Well, a composition function is going to happen when you have this little guy there. That's my technical term for that is it is an open circle. Okay, so starting out then, if you guys read right up here, it says, what is a composition function? We have this here. Down below where it says it is said, I want you guys to write. This is where we'll figure out how it is said. This up here is said, f, open circle, g of x. Okay? So when I read through this here, if you guys ever read it, we're just going to call that open circle. This up here says f open circle g of x. And f open circle g of x equals f of g of x. Okay, so finishing down below there, it is said f open circle g of x, and f open circle g of x equals f of g of x. Now, what this essentially means, is when you have an f open circle g of x, is it means you are plugging g of x into f of x. So in the past, we've had numbers in there, okay, and if there was a number in there on our f, then we plugged in that number for all of our x's. But now, instead of plugging in a number, you're going to be taking a function and plugging that into another function. Okay? So, if I look down below, we've got a few practice problems down here. Okay? One of our practice problems says, given f of x equals 2x plus 5 and g of x equals 3 minus 4x, it wants you to find f open circle g of x. So the first thing that you need to do is if it asks you for f open circle g of x, you need to identify what that means. So f open circle g of x means f of g of x. Okay? And that's important because that's telling us what we need to plug in. Okay? Now real quick functions review. Okay? If I have an x here, f of x equals 2x plus 5. Okay, that x was just a placeholder. If I wanted to plug in a 2 there, that just meant that I plugged in a 2 over there. Okay, that should be review for you guys. So the difference is we discovered that this f open circle g of x means f of g of x. So if I have a g of x right here, what needs to get plugged in over here? Well, that would be g of x. Okay, now if I look up here though, g of x actually equals 3 minus 4x. So when I'm going to plug in my g of x, essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to be plugging in 3 minus 4x here. And if I plug in 3 minus 4x over here, that means that I've got to plug it in over here as well. Okay? Just like with our functions, we aren't going to do anything over on this side of the equation. All we're going to do is we're going to simplify over here on the right. So my first step that I would do is I would distribute in my 2, 6 minus 8x. Then I've still got my plus 5. Then I'm going to combine my like terms. Gives me a negative 8. And then 6 and 5 would go together and give me a plus 11. So what we end up finding is f open circle g of x equals negative 8x plus 11. Okay? Now, on the flip side, we've got the different way to write this, g open circle f of x. Okay? So for this one, g open circle f of x, that is going to mean g of f of x. So this is backwards of our other one. This means that I'm going to take my f function and I'm going to plug that into my g function. So if we look at this, our g function, dadgummit, our g function was 3 minus 4 times x. Well, I have an f of x plugged in here, So that means that I need to have my f of x plugged in over here. Okay? So what is my f of x? Well, if I look, f of x was 2x plus 5, so g of f of x is g of 2x plus 5, which means that this is going to be 3 minus 4 times 2x plus 5. Okay? Then we're just going to simplify on the right side there, distribute in my negative 4, so that's 3 minus 8x. And then negative 4 times 5 is going to give me a negative 20. And I end up with negative 8x minus 17. So g, open circle, f of x is negative 8x minus 17. Okay? So that's the first two examples there. If I was you guys, I'd like you guys to pause this video at this point and try and get these set up. See if you can write out what they mean first. See if you guys can get them set up. So I'd pause it real quick. Try and do it on your own. Okay, hopefully you've paused the video and tried on your own. So we're going to start out here, f open circle g of x. Okay, if I have f open circle g of x, that means f of g of x. Okay, so essentially I'm going to be taking my f function, which my f function is x squared plus 5, right? And I know that I'm going to be plugging in my g of x. Now if you're starting to get the hang of this, you can kind of skip a step here, because I know if I'm plugging in my g of x, I need to plug in my g of x here. And I know that my g of x, is x plus 1. So I can go ahead and just plug in my x plus 1 here. Now, common mistake that people are going to make on this one. X plus 1 squared plus 5. The squared does not distribute. The squared does not distribute. If something is squared, that means it's being multiplied times itself. So x plus 1 squared means that I'm taking x plus 1 times x plus 1. Okay? That means that I'm going to need to FOIL this. So that's going to give me an x squared plus 1x plus 1x plus 1, and then I still have my plus 5 that was hanging out on the outside. I'm going to combine my like terms. X squared doesn't have anything alike with it. X and x is going to give me 2x, and then 1 and 5 gives me 6. So for this one, f open circle g of x, I should have squared the whole thing, sorry. F open circle g of x equals x squared plus 2x plus 6. Okay, then on our flip side of this, I've got g open circle f of x. Well, we know that that means g of f of x. Okay, so I'm going to go through there, and then I've got my g function, which is x plus 1. So I need to plug in my f of x into this spot here. And our f of x was x squared plus 5. So I'm going to have an x squared plus 5 in here. Now, there's nothing around these parentheses, nothing in front, behind, nothing that I need to distribute or anything. So really the parentheses really don't matter. This is just an x squared plus 5 plus 1, which simplifies to an x squared plus 6. So g open circle f of x equals x squared plus 6. Okay, and that's your basic thing with your composition functions. Now, one thing that we're going to look at on the back side of this here, okay, let's say instead of asking you to find f open circle g of x, they said to find f open circle g of 2. Okay, well, you would do all your steps to find f open circle g of x, and then when you got down to it, if they have a 2 plugged in there, that just means that you need to have 2's plugged in these spots there, right? So nothing too tricky as far as that, and then you can simplify and figure out what that meant. All right? Okay, so we have a couple examples down below here. F open circle g of 2, g open circle f of negative 3. So again, what you guys can do, find f open circle g of x first. That'd be my step 1, find that. Okay, so I've got f of g of x, and my f function is 2 times x plus 3. Okay, but I don't have an x in there. I have a g of x. Well, my g of x is going to be 4x minus 7. So I've got a 4x minus 7 plugged in here. If I distribute, 2 times 4x gives me 8x. 2 times negative 7 gives me negative 14 plus 3. So that's 8x minus 11. Okay. So we found our f open circle g of x first. Okay. Now we need to plug in our number for x. Okay. So up here they said they wanted f open circle g of 2. So instead of having an x here, I'm going to plug in a 2. That's going to give me 16 minus 11. So we find that f open circle g of 2 is 5. And that's our answer. Okay. One more over here. I've got g open circle f of negative 3. So I need to find g of f of x first. So my g function is 4 times whatever my f of x is, so that's 2x plus 3, minus 7. That's going to give me an 8x plus 12 minus 7. Okay, which gives me an 8x plus 5. Okay, so I found that g open circle f of x was 8x plus 5, but they've asked us to find negative 3. So instead of having an x in there, I'm going to plug in a negative 3. And when I do that, that gives me negative 24 plus 5, and negative 24 plus 5 gives me negative 19. So g open circle f of negative 3 is negative 19. Okay, and that's essentially what you guys need to know about your composition functions. First part of your guys' homework assignment looks like this. Okay, second part of your guys' homework assignment, I believe it's 35 through 37. Looks like these. Oops, it's supposed to be an eraser there. Okay. Second part, 35 through 37, looks like these. 35 through 37 asks you to find f open circle g of x and g open circle f of x. So those 3 problems, there's essentially a part A and a part B. Okay, homework's on your calendar. So yeah, good luck.